There was a time when October didn't just feel like a season, it felt like a broadcast. Before streaming, before endless scrolls and rewinds, Halloween lived on cable. It had a schedule, a rhythm, a glow. And if you were a kid in the late 90s or early 2000s, that glow came from one place, the Disney Channel. Every October, it transformed into something almost sacred. The air outside smelled like caramel and cold wind, and somewhere inside, that familiar Disney Channel original movie logo flickered across the screen like a signal. The countdown was on. Pajamas, popcorn, and a whole lineup of magic that didn't try to scare you. It tried to welcome you in. These weren't horror films. They were suburban fairy tales about mummies, ghosts, vampires, and families who found each other in the weirdest ways possible. They weren't just made for kids. They were made for memories. Because years later, we don't remember the special effects. We remember the feeling. The hum of the TV. The orange reflection of a pumpkin nightlight. The way these stories somehow made October feel safe. From Under Wraps to Halloweentown, Don't Look Under the Bed, and Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, Disney created a Halloween universe all of its own. This is that story. The rise of a generation's favorite fall tradition, when every Friday night felt like Halloween Eve, and every movie felt like it was made just for you. Before Halloweentown, before spells and broomsticks, there was Under Wraps, a low-budget Disney Channel original movie that ended up building a whole new kind of magic. It premiered in 1997, back when Disney Channel felt like a neighborhood clubhouse, the kind of place where the same handful of actors popped up in every movie, and everything looked like it was filmed down the street from your house. 3 kids, Marshall, Gilbert, and Amy, stumbled onto a mummy hidden inside a basement, but instead of running away, they tried to help him. They named him Harold. They snuck him through grocery stores, hid him in their bathrooms, and discovered that he isn't scary at all. He's just lost. That's what made Under Wraps special. It wasn't about danger, it was about empathy, about finding a connection in something strange. The lighting was warm, the humor was innocent. The world felt believable. It could have happened right down your block. The film didn't need high-tech effects. It had something more powerful: sincerity. This movie started Disney's golden age of Halloween storytelling. Stories about kids who don't run from the unknown, but try to understand it. It taught a generation that curiosity is stronger than fear, and that friendship can look like anything. Even a 3,000-year-old mummy wrapped in bandages. Every fall tradition has a beginning. For Disney Channel, it started here. One flashlight beam, one secret in a basement, and one mummy that reminded us all to keep our hearts open. A year after Under Wraps quietly began Disney's Halloween tradition, the network struck gold. In 1998, Halloweentown premiered, and for millions of kids, October was never the same again. It started with one simple idea. What if Halloween was a place you could actually visit? A town where witches, ghosts, and ghouls weren't scary. They were your neighbors. And right at the center of it all was Marnie Piper, a teenage girl who didn't fit in with the normal world, but was destined for something special. When Marnie and her siblings secretly follow their grandma Aggie, played by the incredible Debbie Reynolds, onto a glowing bus that flies through the night sky, they cross into a world that felt instantly legendary. Fog-covered streets, talking skeleton taxi drivers, a giant pumpkin glowing in the middle of town. But Halloweentown wasn't just about spells and monsters. It was about identity. About embracing the parts of yourself that make you different, even when the world tells you to hide them. It made magic feel warm, not dark. It made October feel eternal. Debbie Reynolds brought grace and humor to every scene, a grandmother who made magic feel like home-cooked wisdom. And when Marnie finally learns to fly on her broom, it's not just a special effect, it's a metaphor, a reminder that belief is the real power. For many of us, Halloweentown became a ritual. Every fall, the reruns came back, and that pumpkin still glowed in the middle of town square. It wasn't just a movie, it was a feeling, and that feeling never really left. By 1999, Disney Channel had figured out how to make Halloween feel warm and magical, but that year, they tried something different, something daring. They leaned into the weird, the mysterious, and the slightly unsettling. And out came Don't Look Under the Bed. It followed Frances, a teenager who'd already decided childhood was behind her. She didn't believe in monsters or imaginary friends. She believed in logic, until her world started breaking down in ways logic couldn't even explain. Clocks ran backward. Eggs flew from nowhere. Her name was scrawled across walls she hadn't touched. Then came Larry, her old imaginary friend, forgotten, but not gone. He returned to tell her something impossible. The chaos wasn't random. It was caused by a creature born from imagination itself, a boogeyman. And the truth hit harder than any twist ending. Boogeymen weren't evil, They were imaginary friends who had been left behind. It was strange, it was surreal, and for a kids' movie, it carried something powerful, a message about growing up too fast, about what happens when you stop believing in wonder. Don't Look Under the Bed was Disney at its boldest. The color palette was darker, the tone dreamlike. It was like a fever dream of childhood fears and teenage guilt wrapped into a family film. For many of us, it was the first time that Disney made us feel unsettled, but in a good way. It made us think. The ending wasn't about conquering fear, it was about understanding it. Because sometimes the real monsters aren't under the bed. They're the parts of ourselves we stop believing in. By the time the calendar flipped to the year 2000, Disney Channel's Halloween lineup had become an event. And this one, Phantom of the Megaplex, was different. It wasn't set in a haunted mansion or foggy town square. It was set in the place that every kid had worshipped, the movie theater. The story followed Pete Riley, a teenager working the night shift at the local Megaplex. It's opening night for a huge premiere, and everything that could go wrong does. The projectors break, the popcorn machine goes haywire, the curtain drops too soon, and suddenly, everyone's whispering about the Phantom. On the surface, it's played like a family mystery, but underneath, it was a love letter to movies themselves. That glowing light from the projector booth, the hush that falls before the previews, the way stories can take over a place until it feels alive. For every kid who grew up with a small town cinema, Phantom of the Megaplex hits close to home. It captured the magical energy of sitting in a dark room surrounded by strangers, all gasping, laughing, and dreaming together. The Phantom turned out to be not a villain at all, but someone who just didn't want to let go of the magic. And that was the heart of it all. It wasn't about haunting a theater, it was about holding on to something special. When the credits rolled, you didn't just want to solve the mystery, you wanted to work at that theater, to live inside the glow. Because Disney's best trick wasn't scaring you, it was reminding you that even in the everyday, magic can still flicker on screen. By late 2000, Disney Channel had found its groove. Halloween movies that were funny, heartfelt, and just spooky enough to make the night feel alive. Then came Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, and suddenly, the suburbs had never looked so enchanted. The setup was pure Disney perfection. 2 kids, a single mom, and a mysterious stranger who sweeps her off her feet. But there's something unusual about him. He loves the night, avoids mirrors, and always just seems a little too smooth. The kids figured out fast. Mom's new boyfriend might not be from around here. What made Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire so special wasn't just the story, it was the tone. It captured everything magical about early 2000s suburban Halloween. Orange streetlights, grocery store decorations, microwaved pizza rolls, and kids scheming their way through the neighborhood as if the fate of the world depended on it. Caroline Rhea brought real warmth to the role of the mom, a character who wasn't clueless or corny, but just tired and hopeful. And the kids, they weren't trying to save the planet, just their family. It's that simplicity that made it timeless. The vampire wasn't terrifying, he was charming, almost theatrical, the kind of Halloween villain who made you grin more than gasp. The film reminded us that Disney didn't need monsters to make a story work. It just needed heart, timing, and the perfect October glow. When it was over, you didn't want to turn off the TV. You wanted to look out your window, half expecting something magical to be happening down the street. Because that's what Disney's Halloween was always about. The belief that even an ordinary night could still turn extraordinary. By 2002, the Disney Channel Halloween formula was perfected. Cozy, spooky, heartfelt, and always about family. But the Scream team added something deeper. It wasn't a story just about ghosts. It was about grief, memory, and moving on. The movie followed Ian and Claire, 2 siblings returning to their dad's small town after their grandfather passes away. But this isn't your typical somber story. Strange things start happening around the old house, and before long, the kids discover their grandfather's ghost can't move on, not until some unfinished business is resolved. Enter the Soul Patrol, a team of quirky, lovable spirits played by Eric Idle and Kathy Najimy. They're part comedy, part cosmic bureaucracy, guiding lost souls to the afterlife while keeping the balance between the worlds. And somehow, in all its lighthearted humor, the film manages to explore something powerful: how to say goodbye without letting go. It's rare for a Disney Channel to feel this human. The laughs are there, ghostly gadgets, witty banter, plenty of small-town charm. But beneath it all, there's heart. A message that remembering someone doesn't mean you're trapped in the past. It means you're keeping them alive in your story. Visually, it had that early 2000s glow. Rich fall colors, candlelight, and fog rolling through small-town streets. It felt less like a kid's movie and more like a comfort movie, one that wrapped you in nostalgia before you even realized it. By the time the credits rolled, the Scream team didn't feel like a ghost story at all. It felt like a thank you letter to the people who came before us, to the memories that never fade, and to the magic that keeps them close. By the mid-2000s, the glow of Disney Channel Halloween had become something more than a TV tradition. It was a memory machine. Every October, those old titles flickered back to life. Under Wraps, Halloweentown, Don't Look Under the Bed, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, The Scream Team. Each one carried that same unmistakable feeling, that cozy electric pulse of fall magic that somehow made childhood feel infinite. But like every great era, it slowly began to fade. Disney evolved, the programming changed, and yet, something about those early Halloween movies refused to disappear. They lived on in reruns, in DVD box sets, in streaming playlists, and in the heart of kids who grew up with them. Because those movies weren't just entertainment, they were anchors. They reminded us of a time when a Friday night premiere could feel like an event, when family rooms turned into theaters, and when every story had just enough wonder to make you believe in something bigger. There was a rhythm to it all, the logo sparkle, the countdown, the popcorn in the microwave, the faint chill of October coming through the window. And now, decades later, we still chase that feeling. We rewatch, we remember, and we share them with our kids, because that's what magic does. It echoes. The Disney Channel Halloween lineup taught us that imagination doesn't have to end when the credits roll. It lives wherever nostalgia breathes, in a flicker, a melody, or a pumpkin-lit night. Even as the channel changed, the old magic stayed, not trapped in the past, but living quietly inside us all. When you look back on it now, those Disney Channel Halloween movies weren't just programming. They were moments. They were the flicker of a CRT screen in a dark room, the hum of a commercial break, the taste of leftover candy still sitting in a plastic pumpkin on your dresser. Every story, from Under Wraps to Halloweentown, Don't Look Under the Bed, Mom's Got a Date, The Scream Team, carried the same pulse, the belief that ordinary kids could find extraordinary things hidden in plain sight. They didn't need superheroes or special effects, just flashlights, curiosity, and a little bit of courage. And maybe that's why they stuck with us, because growing up has a way of sanding down the edges of magic, of making the world smaller and sharper. But those movies remind us of what it was like before that happened, before we knew how things worked, before we stopped looking for what might be waiting in the dark, not to scare us, but to surprise us. Every October, when the air turns crisp and the light changes just a little, it's hard not to feel it again. That Disney Channel energy, humming just beneath the static. Because the magic never really left the screen. It just found a new home in our memories. And somewhere out there, in every glowing pumpkin, every rerun, every moment you feel that spark again, the movie is still playing.